Another edition of Unpopular Reviews. Saw 5 this time, continuing the Saw series. As you know, we just did Saw 4. This is Saw 5. Next week is Saw 6, so 4, so forth. And we're going to lead up into Saw X, which actually comes out next Friday. Can't wait for that. Going to be there that weekend to see it. But let's talk about Saw 5. But before we talk about Saw 5,
what do you want from me?
I want to know if you have what it takes. Vengeance can change a person. Make you into something you never thought you were capable of being.
Have you learned enough to trust me?
Saw 5, which is the first one that really is starting to deviate a little bit from the original Jigsaw, as you see Detective Hoffman and his journey to possibly become the new Jigsaw, maybe possibly to not be the new Jigsaw, but just to finish up his work. What are your thoughts when it comes to this movie?
Well, this felt like an episode of Law and Order Special Victims Unit, hence the name Saw VU, because it was all over the place. People in trench coats, cops all over the place, calling for backup, cops fighting each other, cops going after each other. Like, this was just ridiculousness. And then Jigsaw with the stuff like this was fanfare. This was definitely a money grab. It was all over the place. However, there was a lot of snippets that they kept bringing it back to the first movie and the second movie and the third movie, and it was definitely a continuance of part 4, where you get to learn a lot about John's past, John's wife, John's kid. John, it's definitely a lot about John. It makes it feel like John never died in the third movie, honestly. And this thing it's definitely, it's quite interesting. It was an interesting ride. And in the last movie, the main thing was just that, you can't save everybody. And then in this movie, it's just like, oh, how the hell did this guy get away? And blah blah blah, and this and that, and then it just brings you back to all of the different little clues that brought up to what Jigsaw was doing, and all of that. And it's definitely quite interesting, because one of the people, for the first time, ended up getting away by putting a pen in his throat, and then that's what kind of just led to this whole back and forth and reveal and all of that, and messing up the whole plan. But then, and the thing is that the guy turned out not even to be, in the beginning, not even, it was just, he was just copycatting Jigsaw. You know what I mean? And Jigsaw was just like, yo, I don't like your work. Your shit is sloppy. And I was just like, what? When you're going to use a pendulum, you got to use this type of steel to da. And I was like, oh, wow, you got a protege now. And he happens to be one of the top cops that's freaking manipulating everything and all of that. It literally felt like an episode of Power, an episode of SVU, where you just have all of these fake people doing all of this wild shit. This movie was a wild ride, because it was definitely all over the place.
When you say all over the place, you mean a good way or the negative way?
No, I mean in a good way, because look, and the only way that it could be negative is if you saw Soul 5 out of nowhere without knowing anything, right? Because the thing about this movie is that it brings back so much from the previous movies that you could probably get away with understanding what's going on, right? But for example, one of my favorite scenes was, the scene where they were just setting up the gun and having a conversation, because it brought me back all the way to the movie. how the whole thing was set up, and how and a lot of the quotes that were in this movie were interesting too. Like, shit, what was it that he said? It was something about just leaving things open to chance and things like that. That, there's no, you don't
If
necessarily.
you, he did say one good one that I still use. If you leave, shoot, if you can learn to anticipate the human brain, it leaves nothing to
Thank
change or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, yes, which is interesting because, like, it's just about trying to figure out how people are going to behave, and then just that alone, that gives you this thought process of all the other movies. Is like, damn, like this guy really gave it some thought and thought this whole thing out and really figured out how people were going to behave, what the choices they were going to make, and all of that, because he's always giving people a choice. The choice is yours, live or die, blah blah. And it's just this whole thing with him. So it's really really interesting, this movie, and just the way that they portray it, and then in the end, once again, there's room for more. So it makes you wonder, like, when's it gonna end? Like, what's the guy's dead already. He's been for two movies. Like, how much thought process did you do? Like, how many people did you think of to go get them? And every time there's always somebody new. It's like, shit, man. I would hate to be on Jigsaw's shit list because it's probably about 50 other people there with me.
He just grabbed them all. It got to the point where now everybody wakes up and automatically knows, oh God, I'm in the Hunger Games. That's how I felt in this movie too when he kidnapped those five people. Like,
That whole thing about it this time was interesting because the truth is that they all had to work together in order to get out of there. Like, there was an opportunity for everybody to live, and where it comes back to, like, anticipating how people are going to behave. I had a feeling that Jigsaw knew that like, one person was going to die, but then you didn't find out till, like, the last quote unquote test that they all could have survived it, just each of them taking a little bit of pain and getting away with it. You know what I
you
mean?
know what? And this is the first time where I actually kind of saw that, especially with the one where they could get out in the pods. Like,
Hmm.
it's like those pods are big enough for one person to be in. But so that was amazing. That was good. I thought one of them was in on it though. I really did.
I was a little upset when Megan Good died because I mean, she's fine, so I'm a fan. But still, like, when she got hit with the electrocution and all of that, like, I'm curious to how that whole scene went down because her eyes were like wide open and she's all like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she had me laughing at this movie, man. But hey,
Yeah.
it was nice to see her. It was nice to see her. And I think at the time, that's when she was, a young actress and, brand new to the scene or something. So, 'cause, yeah, everybody knows Megan Good is beautiful.
Yeah, they were. She's well, she is. They were. It was interesting. We're going to talk more about that in our final thoughts and thumbs up, thumbs down. But I keep saying it. The deterioration is happening.
Mm.
Stay with us. You're watching Unpopular Review. Saw 6 next week. Looking forward to that. I might watch it today if I feel like I'm going to stay awake. If not, I'll watch it sometime this weekend. But we'll talk about it next Tuesday. But right now we're talking about Saw 5 and Saw VU. We're on you. Final thoughts. Thumbs up. Thumbs down.
Uh, well, I mean, I definitely see what you said about the deterioration. I would still give it a thumbs up because I was certainly engaged in the movie, and at this point, at this point, like, I guess I'm curious to see what happens with Jigsaw and where they take it. The one thing that I don't get is why they still keep calling these movies Saw, and it's probably just because it's consistent with the first movie. But what's not consistent about the naming, at least, is that there's no more saws. Like the first movie was about sawing your foot off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like, there hasn't been any of that.
Well, in the last scene, they were trying to get their blood by.
No, but what I mean is it's just that like there was this whole thing about you having to make a choice to saw your foot off. Right? I mean, yeah, that whole circular saw with the blood and all of that, yeah, no, I get that. But like, just the whole thing about that psychological crap that like you saw a little bit of that in the second movie, or at least in the third movie, when Marky Mark's brother had to like crush his foot to get out of the thing. Like there was a little bit of that, you know what I mean? So like, but um but as far as like the main theme of calling it Saw, because you have to, it's I don't see it there. I just don't get it. So at this point, I feel like it's they should have just called it Jigsaw or something like that. But I get at the time.
Stay tuned. That's coming up in a couple weeks.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean, and because that makes more sense at this point. It's really more about him instead of just the whole thing about having to make that kind of a choice. So.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that. Thumbs up, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Saw 5 gets a thumbs up. When I saw this movie first in 2010, I would have immediately got a thumbs down for me. I really hated this one a great deal. I thought the hero was not somebody you can really cheer for. At least I could cheer for Riggs a little bit. This FBI agent I thought was like a straight dick. Wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of some of the traps. I wasn't a fan of the 5 people too much. I'm not a fan of Detective Hoffman. I just was not really a fan of this movie. I saw this movie 2 nights ago and really just paid attention to it, and it changed my mind. So now I actually will get a thumbs up because I thought the story wasn't as bad as I thought it originally was going to be, or originally was. And I took time to see what they were trying to do, and that was tell the story of how Hoffman became Jigsaw's protege. Do I think still he can carry a movie by himself without Tobin Bell in it? No, I don't think so. I'm not that interested in him. Even when he truly learned his lesson and trapped himself while the guy, by giving him a chance to make that decision to kill himself, which he did in a brutal way. Speaking of which, I don't like this is when the death scenes start getting really wonky and really CGI. In the first 2-3 Saw movies, they weren't as CGI as they are now, and that bothers me. But because CGI, a lot of times you can tell, so it's not as gruesome. Like even in Saw 4, they had the scene where they were like dissecting his brain, and it was very, very realistic looking. So like they were all in his brain. This movie does get a thumbs up for me. Saw 6, however, I'm just going to give you a spoiler. Saw 6 was actually one of my favorite Saw movies. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Definitely better than the 6th and the 5th one for me. I actually put it on par with the third one. So looking forward to watching that one. But that's it for us here at Popular Review Entertainment for Saw 5. Join us next Tuesday for Saw 6. For Saw VU, I'm the executive consultant. We will see you right here next time on Popular Review. Good night, everybody.